Hey Nimers! In this video, I'm going to show you how to get the content of a web page by using a very interesting use case in KNIME Analytics Platform. Every time you start KNIME, you see this welcome page which contains a section named Tips and Tricks. If you have read these tips, you might find them very helpful and interesting. So I wondered how can I get them all together and read them at once. So I asked the question in KNIME forum and I got the answer from Iris. You can get them by reloading this page. Let's take a look at the page, and here when I refresh the page I get new tips. But there's a problem here. To see new tips, you have to be logged into KNIME forum. If you are not logged into KNIME forum, like here in Firefox, that I'm not logged into KNIME forum, when I refresh the page, I don't get new tips. So in KNIME Analytics Platform, how can I log into KNIME forum except using Selenium nodes? I asked the question again in this topic, and Iris answered you need to change the URL slightly. Just append the question mark and the iteration number. So if in Firefox here, if I add a question mark and a number, I get new tips. So let's go to KNIME Analytics Platform here, and I have the workflow. In the first node, table creator node, I have created a column named URL, and I have created my base URL, which is http knime.com tips and tricks, and let's execute. And the next node is the counting loop start. I have set the number of loops to 100, and let's execute this again. And in string manipulation, I have used a join function, and here I have the base URL, the question mark we talked about, and the current iteration. The current iteration is a flow variable produced by the counting loop start. Let's see the output of counting loop start. Here in the flow variable tab, you can see the flow variables, and here the current iteration is and the value is 0 because we are in the first iteration of the loop. So when I have put this current iteration here, it means 0 for the first loop, then 1, then 2, and so on. As this variable is an integer, I have to convert it to string. Here I have used a string function to convert the value of the current iteration variable to a string, and then we have the URL we need. KNIME tips and tricks question mark and the number. Then I have used the HTTP retriever, and I have set the URL column in URL input. Let's execute. Let's see the output. Here the result column is produced by HTTP retriever, and then we used a HTML parser and used the result column as the input. Be careful to set the result column as the input, not the URL itself. So execute again, and then I have used an XPath node to read the information from the HTML parser node. Here, the HTML parser has produced this column named document, and the format of the content is XML. So I use a XML pass node to read the information. Here we have a title and the tip itself. I want to get this content from the web page by using this XPath node. I can use this preview here and set any and select any element. As you see here, the address is in green, and I can add the XPath. But I'm gonna suggest you an easier way. Use the Firefox, and in any content you want to find the XPath for the content, right click on the content and select inspect element, and then you have the XPath here. By go to copy and XPath, select XPath, and you have copied the XPath to the clipboard. So you can use here, for example, add XPath, and you can paste it. Let's for example, here is the XPath, but the path doesn't have the namespace, so I have to add the namespace like this: DNS, and for all the elements. The namespace is here in the tab. You have the DNS prefix. You have to add this prefix to all the elements. Here I have the XPath for the title, DNS HTML, DNS column body, and so on. Then I have the name for the column, and I have selected single cell option here for multiple tag. You select single cell when you have one item of the path in each page, or you can select collection cell if you have multiple items and you want them to be all in one cell as a collection. Or you can select multiple columns or multiple rows for multiple items. So I have done this for the title and the tip. Okay, let's execute. And here we have the title and the tip. So we are going to run the loop and get the tips and tricks for 100 pages. So I run the loop. Here I can see, as you see, I'm gonna pause the video and wait the loop to end. So I will continue after the loop has finished its job. So the loop has been ended. The next, let's take a look at the output. Here we have 100 rows and the titles and the tips. So the next node is the column filter. I'm gonna filter and include the title and tip and exclude the URL and the other columns we created before. So execute. Now we have a much clearer table here. The next node is row filter. I'm going to filter and exclude the rows which have missing value for the tip column. As you see in the column filter, you may have some missing values, so I'm gonna filter them by row filter. Now we have 89 rows, Then, as we may have some duplicate tips or titles, we use group by node, and we group on tip, and we use the first title for the tip. So here we execute. So here in the output table, we have unique tips and their title. And in the next node, we do vice versa and use the title as the grouping column and use the first tip. So we are going to have the unique tips and unique titles. Here we have titles and the tips, and here in column resorter I have put title first, then tip. So in the next step, I have sorted the rows based on title and tip. First title, then tip, and both in ascending order. And for that, I have used the sorter node. Let's execute and let's take a look at the table. Here we have unique titles and unique tips, and the number of the rows is 51. The actual number of tips is a bit more, but we have 51 because we have filtered some missing and duplicate values. If you want to have all the tips, you may increase the number of the loops to 200 or 300. So after removing the duplicates and missing values, you have the all tips and tricks. In the final node, I have a table to PDF node. So I'm gonna output my table into a PDF file. So I have the output location to see, and the file name is the tips and tricks. Let's execute, and let's open the file. Okay, we have the PDF file, the titles and the tips, and we have all of them here. So I hope this video would be helpful to you, and thanks for watching.